So, Miss Johnson,
Yes.
96 years old.
Yes.
That is, you're old.
Yes, I am old. And so happy to be old.
Almost a century. You have seen so much in your life. You have
Yes.
seen, all kinds of things from, if we go back to 1927, right then, it was the founding of the National Negro Congress. It was a key. It was very early time for the civil rights organization, that campaigned against segregation and discrimination. And then by the time the 1930s came, it was, the Harlem Renaissance, that gets into play. By the time 1941 came, we had, A. Philip Randolph. He organizes the March at Washington movement, demanding fair employment and practices for Black workers during World War II. And you were there for all of that. Well, Miss Johnson, with so many things going on during these times, tell us what you did on an average day. What did an average day look like for you and your family?
Well, I went to school. The first thing about it was a group that went to school. We had a long ways to go, and we had to walk. And because my brothers, the older brothers, they would go home at 11 o'clock and eat their lunch, and they would bring us lunch back. We had, no way of hot lunch or anything at that particular time. Done, what we could. Have a whole slew of us. Now, my father and my mom, they would kind of teach us at night. We'd try and study. They would help us with our homework to get our lessons out, and things like that. And from one grade to another, this is kind of how we made it through, Finish one class and you go to the next class the next year until you finish, your grade school, and went on through like that, yeah. And of course, for the home, we had a home, we farmed, and my dad, we used to have like prayer service, which kind of like church, like in a sense, like he would always have prayer with us once a week. I think it was Thursday that we would do that. We would have the prayer, and he would kind of teach us how to say the Lord's Prayer until we learned. Then after we learned, then each night, different ones of us would have to, say the prayer. Then when we started learning how to read the Bible, then we would have to do that in order to get through the night. And then he would read the Bible and explain, God's word and stuff like that to us, over the period of time we would have our little lessons and stuff. And of course, we farmed, and we sold strawberries and whatever it was. We done field work and stuff like that. The brothers done work and we done work too. Everybody worked and helped to make ends meet the best that we could.
Well, and how many children were in your family?
10.
10.
10. 6 girls and 4 boys. Yeah.
So tell us how your family survived with so many kids.
And when the season was in for different vegetables and stuff, my mom would can stuff and jar stuff and prepare for the winter time, because of course in the winter we couldn't raise anything that much, and we would have food and stuff that way for the winter time, and we could kind of make do like that. And when we got a little older, different ones of them, my brothers, they got little jobs and stuff. Then as they got older, they all went in the branch of the service. One in the Army, one in the Navy, and just different branches like that. And started helping out with the family. Yes, that's what happened.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so back there in the South, in the city that you were in, is in Ponchatoula. I would imagine it's a very small town.
It is.
And where exactly is it located?
It's located in the South. It's about 60 miles out of New Orleans.
So it's in Louisiana.
It's in Louisiana. Louisiana.
Well, I can imagine back in the South, back in those days, I could imagine that it was very difficult. Share a memory, as a child about segregation, anything that happened to you when you were a child as far as segregation was concerned?
Well, we always had to go to the back of the bus, if you were going to go any place, and you'd get on the bus. And of course, they had the signs up, say white, and then they had the signs that say the color. So, okay, we would always have to go to behind the sign that said color. So, of course, now, if there was a lot of white people that got on the bus and they filled the signs that said white, then the bus driver, he would get up and come and move the black sign further back. And then the white people could come back and sit where they had moved the sign from. And then we could sit if there was any more room there. But if there wasn't any more room there, then we would have to stand up for the rest of the ride. And that would make the white people have their white part that said white, and then they would have our part that said color too. And this is kind of the way we did to get around where we had to go. It just was kind of bad, very, very, very bad.
So by that time, in 1955, is when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama.
Right.
So after that time, that really kind of struck the movement for you to be able to even get on that bus.
That's right.
But even though you got on the bus, you still had to experience the segregation. So you were made still to sit in the back of the bus.
Absolutely.
And then if there were other Caucasians that came on, then they would move the signs. So you would have to go all the way to the back. And if there was no room, then you still had to stand.
You had to stand up. And there was a line in the bus, like you could stand up and hold on to that line above the bus at the top of the bus and kind of hold on to that, because the bus moves around and then turn curves and stuff like that. So it was very inconvenient and very dangerous, but this was our only way of getting around. And when we went, and there was a lot of people get the bus, and it wasn't enough room, they took all the white, and the colored had to stand there and wait for the next bus. So I guess they took the sign down for say colored, because they took all of the white and left the color there. Yeah, this is where we got around. Very, very bad.
So what was a defining moment in your life that showed your strength as a Black woman?
I had started kind of like getting a little tired of, and I didn't want to move like when they kept telling me to move and stuff, and a couple of times, this was after the Rosa Parks stuff, and things began to change a little bit. So then sometime I wouldn't move, or a lot of the other people would say the sign says this is our place back here, and that's where we would stay at. Yeah, but it was bad, and you could tell the bus driver didn't say anything, but you can tell he did not want us to stay there. He didn't want it to happen, but we made it happen.
Well, good for you. That's exciting. But at the same time, I can imagine it was very scary.
Very, very scary, because there had been so many times. It never had happened to me, but you had seen like a lot of time Black people had gotten beat up on the bus and stuff, and there was nothing done. The police done nothing. Nobody done anything about it. So it was kind of scary, it was.
Okay, Miss Johnson. So when you think of an accomplishment made by the Black community during your lifetime, what is the first thing you can think of that you never thought you would ever see?
Well, first thing was our president that we just got rid of, you know what I mean? I was just amazed to have a Black president. I just really, 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 really was, It's something that has been needed for a long, long time, and I was just happy, happy, happy to see it come.
And before you're president, I imagine you're talking about Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
Okay. And before Barack Obama, what role models did you have, Black role models did you have coming up?
King.
Martin Luther King?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Martin
Hmm.
Luther King, since we were talking about the bus, right? He was the one, he led the march, the boycott
Okay.
on the bus for, back in 1955 when
Okay.
Rosa Parks refused to get up out of her seat.
See, that's right.
And
Mm.
so it seems like he was very instrumental in the
And
South,
that's
especially,
right. And
in doing a lot of those movements back there.
yes, he was.
So at some point in your career, you did become a supervisor during the time when segregation and discrimination were still very active. What experience did you have as a Black woman being a supervisor?
I guess it was more when I came to Xerox. That was the job that I really, really overcome it. All of the jobs you have, you back and forth, back and forth. But at this job, I was there for after a while when they started making different areas for work. And that's when they started like using supervisors, the one that, knew the areas better and understood the areas and stuff and had been doing supervision jobs and stuff. Well, they started letting them have the rooms. But then at that point in time, there was quite a few of them just say they just was not gonna work on no black person, no nigger. And it just did left. They just would not work on them. But hopefully and faithfully, we stayed there. And as we stayed there, as some left, they hired more, and it continued until things got really, really, really good, and ended up being a very good place to work.
Oh wow, that's
Hmm.
exciting, and
Hmm.
that's terrible. I mean, I
Hmm.
can't imagine being the supervisor and you're still dealing with that kind
Absolutely,
of
yeah.
attitude towards you during that time.
Especially the young men is like, you always had that little fright of them because it was so strong, like, and it was just so openly with the talk and the conversation. Now, as I look at it now, maybe some of it just was conversation to scare me or scare us or something, but it was like frightening. So it just wasn't nice. It wasn't nice at all.
Wow.
Mm-mm, not
So
right then.
you were a young Black mother in the South, and you said you had three sons, right?
Yes, three sons. Uh-huh.
And you were telling me earlier about when the civil rights movement was happening, and you would stand at the bus waiting
Hmm.
for your kids to come home every
Hmm.
single day. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Well, they had start with the segregation and stuff, so they had chosen some of the kids to do the march, and they tried to choose the better kids that they figure could, I guess, withstand it without, how some kids are a little more smarter at the mouth than others, and they had chosen these kids to go in, be the ones to go in and sit at the counter at the stands where they buy the sandwiches and stuff like that, Woolworth and places and stuff like that. And they would let them go there. Well, and when they would go there, they would make them leave, and stuff, and put them out. And it was just bad. And my son happened to be one of them that was with him. Well, I did not want him to go because, they were beating him side the head with sticks and broom handles and stuff like that. And I didn't want my son to go through that. So I was just afraid of it. But he was determined to do it. And then there was a few teachers that would try and tell him, how just to go in and be mannerable and just sit there and don't say anything whenever they say these words to them, and stuff. But it bothered me a lot. So I was just so afraid something would be to happen every day when he would come home. So I would go close where the bus stop was, and I'd stand there and I would look, and I would count all of the kids that were getting off the bus, and then until I could count mine and count all of mine too, and I'd say, "Thank God the kids made it another day, without any of them getting all beat up, because a lot of them had got beat up and knocked side the head bleeding and all that kind of stuff." It was a very, very scary time, and it was a dangerous time for everybody at that particular time. It was really, really, really bad.
So what were some of the other things that would happen to these individuals that were participating?
Well, they would push them out of there. They'd push them out of the store, out of the
Woolworth?
out of the restaurant and stuff. Didn't want them in there. They didn't want them marching on the street. They'd make them get off the streets and stuff. They'd have to go on back. Now these are young school kids, and it's just really, really, really bad.
You raised all three of your sons. You raised your kids, and you were, you were successful, and you finally eventually came here to California,
hmm
and things got better. You said you worked with Xerox a little bit, and you made yourself a career there until you retired.
hmm
Um, what are some of the most proudest moments of your life, both personally and the things that you witnessed in your Black community?
Oh, the treatment and getting along of the people, and in the end, like with mostly like at the end, white and black was just all like the same. Everybody just started getting along. It just wasn't no black and no white. We were all just like one group, everybody just started getting along. We done things together. We had our lunches together, and when the job would give little parties and stuff, we did all that together without any kind of bad stuff happening, and everybody just got along really, really, really good. I really, really appreciated that. I really did.
So what are some of the most proudest moments of your life?
Oh, the proudest moment of my life is my kids, working hard like I did, and trying to educating them and doing the best that I could and getting them where they are in life. That
Your proudest moment?
are my proudest moments. Yeah, that was my goal, to see them. I wanted them to have a better life than what I had, because it was pretty hard. It was pretty hard, yes.
This same son you're talking about, Les, your son
hmm
Les.
hmm
Now he
hmm
has several titles. He's gone to school. He has, I don't know, 255 degrees, this and that
hmm
and the other. He probably
hmm
has more degrees than the law allows.
hmm
But he has, he's a doctor in several different things. He's gone to
Right.
college. He's owned businesses. He's done so many things.
They
Did
have.
you ever imagine in your
Mhm.
entire life, especially as a young mother, did you ever imagine that it would get this good for your children?
I didn't ever know it would get this good, but I always felt he would be the one that would go that last mile. He was always the one that always, I don't mind dying, and I'm going to this march. I would tell Lester, I don't want you to go. 'Cause I don't want nothing to happen. Mama, I'm going. Somebody got to go, and if it has to be me, I don't mind. And that bothered me a lot. I really, really never thought that he would, but get that far. But he did, and I'm just so proud that he did. And he went into service. All of that bothered me, and he was on the battlefield for so long, and he got hurt out there, and his friend got killed. He turned around and went back and got the child, and brought him on. Instead of trying, just, most young men would have just went on and come on out and tried to save themselves and left the dead friend back there. He turned around and went back, and I tell you, it was just a blessing he done that. But I tell you, it was a nerve heart thing when I first found out about it, because he stayed in the hospital a long time after all of that happened. But I am the proudest mother you would ever want to see now. I really, really am. And I thank God, because without God, it never, never would have happened.
So what does Black History Month mean to you?
Oh, it means everything, everything to me. It's a celebration that we all deserve, and it's a celebration that we should have been receiving, because There's so many people have lost their lives for us. And I think the ones that's left should be able to celebrate and have a very, very, very good day.
We're almost done here, Miss Johnson. Thank you so very much for your time today. But just one last question.
Hmm.
What advice would you give to young Black women today that are facing life challenges?
I would say face it with as much grace as you can and try as hard as you can to pull through it. It's not going to be easy every day, and you're going to have a lot of stumbling blocks in your way. But with God, and you'll know how, and you do the best you can, I think you can pull through. I really, really do.
Well, Miss Johnson, we just want to thank you so very much for giving us your time, and we look forward to having you next year when you're 97 years old.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, very, very much a pleasure to be here.
Is there anything else that you would like to say to these social media people watching you today?
Yes, I would like to say I love you guys, and I hope you guys continue on what you're doing, and may God bless you. And I hope all of you guys live to be past 96 years old, okay?
And look as good as you.
Oh.